Yo, what is up guys? This is Troy D from the Troy D 24/7 Mall channel, your source for on point and no hype reviews. We are back again, everybody. We're back with another fragrance review right here, guys, on my final day off. Now, before I head back to work, guys, I will be talking about the latest Xerjoff fragrance that I had the pleasure to try when I was traveling in London and Paris, guys. And as soon as I got back, I got a sample real quick as soon as I could, and I got to test this fragrance extensively so I can give you guys the no hype breakdown on this scent right here. Let's go. Now, before I continue, please do not forget to like and subscribe, guys. Okay, liking, subscribing, and watching the ads is a great big deal to this channel as we head towards 28,000 subscribers. So please continue all of your support, guys. Deep dive into my over 900 no hype videos. I got a lot of the Xerjoffs in there if you like this brand, as well as support our decanters like Jared Miller. I'll link him below for sending us this decant right here. Thank you so much for all your support. And the fragrance that we'll be talking about today is none other than Xerjoff Louis XV 1722 Rosé. Yes, Xerjoff Louis XV 1722 Rosé. This is really a long name. I'm just going to refer to this fragrance as Louis XV Rosé. Okay, let's keep it that way. But definitely this fragrance is an offshoot of a perfume that, you know, I harped about. I was one of the first few people that harped about Louis XV 1722 that came out like a few months ago. It is or was a champagne based perfume, and I harped about it as a great upscale grabber. And you know, whether I harped about it or not, the public definitely received that fragrance very well. And you know, just like how Xerjoff does, if a perfume, you know, an initial perfume does very well, they'll continue it with a series. And we've seen that with the Torino series as well as the Tony Iommi series continuing on. So as expected, the Louis XV series continues on with the second fragrance right here, Rosé. Okay, so what is up with this fragrance right here, Louis XV Rosé? This is obviously about King Louis XV, one of the kings of France that really, 1722, that specific date was when he returned to Versailles and basically did an overhaul of Versailles, made it a very artsy and intimate place. And so this fragrance kind of comes out as a very upscale, intimate type of fragrance in concept. And of course, this one also carries in the champagne accord, or the champagne type of smell that was popularized by its predecessor, the original Louis XV, right? So this fragrance is rosé, which, you know, if y'all know your champagne, rosé is a pink tinged version of champagne because either it's got berries or red grapes added into this. There's no rose in this, okay, in the champagne, okay, but it makes the champagne pink tinge. But obviously rose is going to be a spotlighted note in this fragrance right here. Anyways, I got to try this in Harrods and in Paris, and I really had a great first impression off of this, as many of y'all have probably done if you've tried this in Harrods. And you know, Harrods being a very festive upscale place, it was like the perfect spot for me to try this. But you know, taking it home right here, now that I'm here, I was able to get a decant from one of the best decanters in the game, Jared Miller, who is decanting this as well in different sizes. If you would like to inquire, I will link him below. And you know, make sure to hit him up because his pricing is amazing as well as his other decants in the bunch. Anyways, I will be giving you guys finally now, after multiple tries of this fragrance, my full lowdown. Let's go spray this thing right now. Oh man, I think I'm out. Okay guys, now let's talk about this fragrance right here, the latest Xerjoff right here, Xerjoff Louis XV 722 Rosé. Starting with this opening, guys, this is the same opening that I got when I was in Harrods. Again, perfect location for me to spray this initially because I really felt the royalty. I felt the elegance of Versailles, you know, from first spray with this fragrance right here. Now, this fragrance essentially is a combination of a champagne accord, a fruity champagne accord, as well as a very deep dark damask rose, and that is is something that I will say is going to be either the make it or break it when deciding whether you want to buy this fragrance. Now, this fragrance does have a fruity champagne accord that centers around raspberry. So you're going to get a raspberry note with your standard champagne stuff. You're going to get your pear. In my opinion, there's underlying citruses right here, as well as black currant. So it's kind of like a berried out champagne accord. And if you spray this really well around you, you'll definitely get the fizz, the bubbliness of that champagne accord. Again, with the added note of raspberry. Now, the big spotlight note here in this fragrance is going to be that deep, dark damask rose. And this is categorized as a mid note in this fragrance. But no, this deep, dark damask rose pops up and becomes really the spotlight note in the intro and the mid of this fragrance right here. And I guess that's why it's called rosé. It's kind of like a translation to make you think that it is a rose fragrance as well. So this one right here has a deep dark damask rose that comes in, and once that damask rose comes in, which is almost immediately, the champagne accord becomes secondary to that rose. So again, that is one of those things that, you know, again, maybe I was caught up in the elegance of Harrods and my experience in Harrods, being up there in the 7th floor. Then I got to try this. But definitely one of the things that, you know, when I got home and I got to try this, I was like, oh, whoa, this is a very deep, dark rose right here, which, you know, again, is, you know, makes this fragrance to me. It started with, oh my God, I'm going to buy a full bottle. But then later on, because of the rose, I was like, ooh, I'm not sure then, just because the rose becomes front and center right here. But nevertheless, still, if you spray this liberally, you're going to get a lot of that berry tinged champagne accord here as well, which I believe for those looking for upscale grabbers, you will really like. Okay, so now let's talk about initial sillage and projection of Xerjoff Louis XV Rosé. This fragrance right here is a lingering scent. It has lingering properties from the champagne accord, the berries, the pear. It does linger around. Not strong. I would say it's kind of like a close quarters type of lingering scent. More for the wearer to really feel upscale in my opinion. But the rose is definitely, I would say, pretty potent. It's a deep dark damask rose that might have draw-in properties as it gets stronger. I would say that that's the potent part right here, and as expected, being that this is a Xerjoff high-end perfume, having a deeper, darker damask rose become more potent as it goes. So I would say this is a lingering scent. It's okay to me. I think that it's more of like a high-end, closer quarters type of fragrance for the wearer. Okay, so now let's head into the mid of this fragrance, King Louis XV Rosé. This fragrance right here, the rose obviously becomes a lot more stronger and potent in the mid, and it is flanked by geranium, which also has rosy and partially green facets as well. So maybe there's like a green, slightly spicy facet that goes within this deep dark rose, but the rose definitely blooms hard on this one, a deep dark rose in the mid of Louis XV. Now, you guys are probably wondering about that cedar wood. There's a cedar wood note here in the mid, but to me, the cedar wood note actually happens near the end of the mid of Louis XV Rosé. This is not like a woody transition in the mid. It's actually a slow woody transition with the cedar wood kind of like being a bridge towards the final notes of this fragrance. But nevertheless, really, first parts, I mean, probably first 4 to 5 hours of this fragrance, or even 6 hours, is going to be deep, dark damask rose coming out right here. Now, if you're wondering too, how long is the champagne accord going to last? To me, it lasted about 1 to 1.5 hours, which is still a pretty good intro coverage so that you can actually enjoy the champagne, the bubbly part of the fragrance before you get to the rose. And I would say that figuratively, it makes sense because, you know, 1722 is when King Louis XV made an intimate transition of the Palace Versailles, making it much more intimate. And with that being said, that's the transition right here. This fragrance goes from a nice explosion of champagne to intimacy. here in the mid of this fragrance right here. Okay, so now let's head into the dry down of this fragrance right here. The dry down of Louis XV is kind of so-so. I mean, it does include the notes of woody notes. You've got your cedar transitioning into the dry down, and then you also get some musk, you get some vanilla, you get some amiris, which is also a woody resinous note that comes here at the end. The ending is kind of so-so. I mean, to me, really, it's kind of like a sweet musk, amber, vanilla type of combination towards the end. And one thing I will say is that it is in the dry down that the potency actually loses out on King Louis XV. I would say that a lot of the impact, a lot of the really impactful notes and the way that, you know, they come out are really in the first to mid parts of this fragrance. The dry down, again, is where the potency kind of ends because the rose also ends right there. And then you have a nice, you know, really smooth like musk, vanilla, amiris, kind of like resinous woody type of ending, slightly sweet, but it's not gonna be as potent as the initial to mid parts of Louis XV Rosé. Okay, so what do I think of this fragrance right here? Xerjoff Louis XV 1722 Rosé. I like it, okay? I mean, I really had a really great first impression of this fragrance. And again, you know, it really matched the vibe of where I was at. And I think that if you include an upscale background to where you would wear this, I mean, definitely it would enhance the way that you would appreciate this fragrance right here. The dimensions of the champagne, you know, being very royal and upscale and eclectic mixes in very well with the intimacy of the deep dark rose progressing at the mid parts of the fragrance, getting a bit darker with that damask rose. So I would say, like, concept wise, it definitely matched the situation, probably even better than the original 1722. But the thing that's going to be the point of contention right here is going to be the rose itself. So, you know, at least what they did was they put the name Rosé in the beginning and a pink bottle to kind of signal to you that, hey, you know what, this thing includes rose. And I'm telling you as well that this includes rose, a deep dark rose that is not just a background rose. It does, you know, take up space in the beginning, and of course the mid majority of this fragrance is going to be a deep dark rose, which has, you know, redundancy. That's the thing. If you collect a lot of niche perfumes, you'll probably have at least one or two deep dark rosy scents, you know, out there, with rose being at the forefront. So that is one of those reasons why, although I'm saying like I had a really great first impression, it really kicked ass to me while I was at Harrods, going home and knowing that I do have a bunch of rose scents, then it suddenly went from that, you know, like I wanted to buy a bottle, to like, I think I'm gonna test it more first because the rose is truly at the forefront of this scent. And if you like just the champagne accord, you know, you can always try the original Louis XV. And you can get a sample of that as well at the Xerjoff website. I think that that one really highlighted the champagne a lot more. And here it's still there, but definitely secondary with a fruity tinge, with the raspberries, with the black currant, right? So I would say that this is a fragrance that is truly, truly upscale and intimate, but still kind of like a try first to me because of the redundancy or possible redundancy of rose being out there. You know, usage wise, this fragrance right here is a bona fide upscale grabber. If you were like me that got to experience this at the launch event at Xerjoff, they had a little nice boutique out there, but being at Harrods, a very upscale shopping mall in the middle of London, I mean, after shopping and after spending some money and all of that, and then spraying this right here in Harrods, I would say that it is a totality of an effect. And that really got me. And, you know, it made me think about, wow, what are the other upscale situations where I could wear this fragrance right here? Now, here's a big question right here. Is this fragrance unisex? Is Louis XV Rosé unisex? In my opinion, this is actually femme-leading because of the rose being a spotlight note that does continue on until the mid. Sure, you get some geranium, sure you get some buried out champagne accord to really mix and match with that, but to me it is going to be a lot more femme leaning. Now, is it okay for the guys to wear this? Absolutely. I don't think it's going to be wrong. I don't think that people will think that you're wearing a femme fragrance, but to me, it's more femme leaning than, you know, for the guys. That is my opinion. But nevertheless, guys, this one is definitely going to be an AC environment, you know, upscale type of fragrance. I would say day or night, but night would be a better way of utilizing this because of the intimate aspects of the deeper, darker rose intensifying makes this a more intimate nighttime perfume in my opinion. Okay, now total performance on this fragrance right here, in my opinion, is 10 to 11 hours. And the reason why I don't say 12 is because really a lot of the potency of the scent is in the first part and the mid. And with that being said, as you head into the dry down, it's actually a here and there musk, amyris, vanilla combination, which is really not going to be as potent as the beginning to mid parts of this fragrance. So I would say like you can still smell whiffs of it past 12, but the most potent part of this fragrance to me performance wise is going to be 10 to 11 hours, more, you know, towards the first 6 or 7 hours as the more powerful parts of Xerjoff Louis XV Rosé. Okay, so now let's talk about the pricing right here of King Louis XV Rosé, and is this a full bottle worthy scent? So a full bottle of this fragrance is $260 for 50 ml. And that kind of makes it like a $500 100 ml if you do the math. I know everybody's been telling me about this, but it's not. It's still not a $500 100 ml fragrance, which means people can afford the full bottle if they choose to, of course with less juice, but it's not capped at $500. Like you have to have $500 to buy this scent. And to me, it's okay because even with the 50 ml, guys, I mean, this to me is a very special occasion. It's kind of like a very upscale special occasions type of fragrance. Knowing that there's a high quality damask rose and a pink champagne accord, I mean, I could only choose really a few instances where I would wear this one that would match the occasion. I mean, it had to take Harrods for me to really kind of like enjoy the upscale nature of this fragrance being at Harrods. So I mean, I would definitely take this to maybe like an upscale dinner or event or vacation maybe, but it wouldn't be something that's like a total grabber, you know, that I would wear all the time, or, you know, it would be something that would make me smell upscale normally. Maybe some of y'all women would, but to me it's not. And with that being said, that makes 50 ml okay for a full bottle on this scent right here. Now, if you have your apprehensions, and I'm sure you do, definitely try a sample from Jared Miller. Order from him. I will link him below so you can order a nice amount. I would say 10 ml of this is quite okay to own, and that's it, because I don't see myself really running out of a 50 ml bottle. Of course, the bottle is beautiful and it's, you know, display worthy. So for those that really collect for those purposes, aesthetics and whatnot, I would think that it's a good addition to your collection. But again, to me, try this first. And that is it. That is my no hype review of the latest Xerjoff Louis XV 1722 Rosé. Oh my God, what a tongue twister. Anyways, let me know in the comments below what y'all think of this fragrance right here. If you're one of the few that got to try it at Harrods, or you got to sample this. I mean, I believe, you know, samples are also out there at the Xerjoff website. If you would like to purchase their full bottle, they give a bunch of free samples. And of course with Jared Miller, let me know in the comments below what y'all think of this fragrance right here. And how do you guys and gals compare this to the original Louis XV that really started off this whole series? Okay, let me know on the comments below. And of course, Champagne at BG is gonna be next. Another champagne fragrance that is kind of like an unattainable fragrance. I was able to grab a sample, so I can't wait to review that as well, and maybe even compare that side by side with this fragrance right here, Rosé. Anyways, I will see you guys on the next video. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. God bless, take care, peace.